Deep Philippe just saying it was a great AMA. Looking forward to see some partnerships that will come out of this. Yeah, I think there was some great questions and some equally good answers in yesterday's AMA. Hope to do more of those with other projects as well, including THT. That one's been asked for a few times. We're trying to put that one in the works along with some additional partnerships with THT, which I think will be interesting. And yeah, I do think there's definitely things we can do with Vesper, and we will. Just a matter of time before I get on a call with Jordan. Hey, Harold, nice to see you. Are there any timelines on when, if there would be a portfolio option on CoinMetro so we can split any funds we have for family members, et cetera, rather than it all being consolidated into our portfolio? Yeah, I think the general plans for that are going to revolve around our challenger bank interfaces with digital fiat, where we'll have, either vaults or wallets or buckets or whatever we choose to call them at the time that we launch them. So yes, you can name something, call it college fund, you can call it a new car fund, you can call it whatever you want to call it, and then allocate funds to it. So yes, so again, I think those things are going to be more aligned with digital fiat. That's going to mean probably Q3 next year, approximately. Hi, Kevin, what potential do you see in THT? Well, I see potential from a few different angles. I do know, and I have heard and have talked to groups that are looking to jump into THT. So from a price discovery side, I do see some potential there. To be honest, this is crypto, regardless of the business side. However, after speaking with the guys at THT back when we initially listed them, I do believe they are working on something that will be quite unique in not only our industry, but just fintech and AI abound. The fact that it has is intermingled with crypto makes it exciting for us because, well, we like things that are intermingled into crypto. We like things that deal in crypto. We like things that help grow the crypto market. So in that aspect, I do believe that THT is interesting. I think there's a lot of potential there. Obviously, they've been around since 2017. They've had some highs and lows. So is CoinMetro. So that doesn't necessarily make me want to walk away. I think trials and tribulations sometimes in business and in life only make people stronger. For that reason and many other reasons, I do support THT. I own THT. I own the token, and I own a good deal of it. So yeah, I hope to do an AMA with them soon so we can touch on this and other topics with them directly. I think that's the best way to do it rather than me just spouting my own opinions. I hope to do that it might have been October initially and then November. I do think there's still potential it may happen in November since we're now talking to them about it directly and indirect talks about other things like masternodes. So we'll see, but it'll happen. And when it does, it's a great question to pose to them and me when we're doing the AMA. XEM staking news has been due for weeks. Due. I like the usage of the word due. I guess it's somewhat applicable, but nothing to spill the beans on yet, unfortunately. We have rekindled talks, though, internally. The thing is we had some modeling done, some basic financial modeling done around XEM staking weeks ago. However, it wasn't really enough to make a decision, and I haven't really been able to talk to all connected parties in one room to really have the discussion. Though we now have some activity on Slack where we are talking with all the different parties to see how exactly we can make these changes. Vesper may be a part of that, considering that they do have and are talking about this. Now, let me see. Orbit? Was it Orbit? Was that the product that they're coming out with? That'll be kind of a tokenization as a or liquidity pool as a service. That could be something that helps us add some spice to XCM staking as well. So potentially even Jordan may play a role and along with her company, Vesper, in that final rollout. So not yet, but we are working on it, and it's now been rekindled. Hi, Kevin. There haven't been any vaulting for the last 2 weeks? Any reason why? No reason from a business side or an admin side. It's probably just technical in nature. So probably the automated system we use that basically updates the numbers and moves funds where they need to move just hasn't happened for whatever reason. So I know it's been already mentioned in Telegram. Tag me in Telegram about that one, and we'll make sure it gets escalated. Hi, Kevin. Any updates on the profitability of CoinMetro? I know we touched break even for a bit earlier in the year. Just wondering how it's going lately. So we are spending more money. We are spending more money. Water. That's why I'm drinking water and not Huel today. No, we are spending more money. We are expanding the team, which means our burn rate is increasing. However, even though I shouldn't say our burn rate is increasing, the amount of money we're spending on a monthly basis is increasing, but our burn rate is staying pretty stable. If we had the same level of expenditures now that we did at the beginning of the year, we would be profitable last month and this month. However, we are spending more money. Last month was our highest revenue month. This month, we are on track to break that month. So we are seeing higher highs. We are going in the right direction. Revenues are increasing. We are seeing as well usage of different pieces of our ecosystem, and that usage increasing, like the swap widget, for example, and that generates a bit more revenues for us, and is great to see. So not yet true profitability, considering that now we have a plan to really kick up the expansion. True profitability we might not see until end of 22 into 23. We projected to see lots of growth, but we're also going to see not just growth in revenues, but also growth in expenses, because we're going to be growing the team, opening offices, spending lots of money on marketing, etc. So, but things are going very well, even though, like I said, we are spending more money. We're only burning about 100K a month, meaning that between our net revenue and our expenses, there's only about 100,000 difference. And that means that we have a pretty good cushion of runway currently for close to 3 years. And we plan to do a funding round in September next year. So it'll be a great time to do funding. We've done funding in the past with no money in the bank and been able to do that. And that's difficult. It's difficult to go and ask for money when you don't have any. When you have money and you don't have the need and just the want, it becomes a much different situation. I've talked about this here before. Fundraising is a game. Both sides have to play the game, and the side who plays the game best usually wins. In most cases, in most sports as well. Sometimes you play worse and still win, however that works. But part of playing the game is going in there with your game face, and knowing that you don't need the person's money on the other side of the table makes it a lot easier to actually get that money and get the investment. Any updates on the launch of virtual IBANs? Launch of virtual IBANs will correspond with the launch of our digital fiat brand, which will be accessible through the CoinMetro platform. Right now, in terms of our 2022 roadmap, that looks like a Q1, Q2 situation. We are going to try and move faster than we initially were. We are going to try to move faster than we were thinking of moving in the last 3 to 6 months, only because we have access to CentralLink now through one of our providers, which is the Bank of Lithuania's own SEPA processing system. And that's going to make it a lot easier for us to move down the path for cards as well. So in order to do that, though, we need to make the transition into digital fiat. So we are going to put some prioritization behind that. It's probably going to happen January or February. And post that launch, you will start to see individual IBANs, first by choice. We may actually end up then at some point only, you deposit to CoinMetro, you get an IBAN. There's no choice in the matter. There may be a choice at first, though, to see how many people are interested in the service. Pierre Mohamed Petit. I hope I put a decent French accent on that. And I hope you're actually French, because if not, I'm an idiot. Hi, Kevin. Hope you're well and great. Hope you're well and great. Hope you're well. And great call with the guys of Cadena this week. There we go. I think I got it now. What are your thoughts about the digital yuan, the idea of a nation state-owned currency? So thanks for that. I think the Cadena call was great. Yeah, absolutely. Had fun on that one. Lots of interesting information, lots of good questions as well. So thanks to everybody who was there asking questions, because without you guys asking questions, it'd be pretty boring. My thoughts on CBDCs haven't really changed. CBDCs are an inevitability. And there's nothing to like shoot confetti. There's no reason to like throw confetti all over the room, have a party, break out your champagne about CBDCs, because they don't mean anything to crypto. They're not crypto. They're not crypto as most people in crypto would define crypto. They are not decentralized. They will absolutely not provide any type of speculative yield or gain. And they are going to be inflationary as a mofo. or AF, as the young people like to say on Twitter nowadays. It's a funny story about AF. I had no idea what that meant. And I kept thinking that people were just like trying to say, as or some other word and just kept typing it wrong. Anyway, that's what happens when you get old. And then you forget what you're talking about too, even though you have it right in front of your face. So CBDCs, I'm not a tremendous fan. I don't think it does anything for our industry other than give some choice that no one in crypto is going to choose, which is, do I take a privately issued CBDC, or do I take one owned by a privately issued stablecoin, or a publicly issued CBDC owned by the central bank of the government, of the banking system that I probably came into crypto to get away from? I think it's a step in the right direction from a very, very, very high level, in that these systems make things work better. And governments going onto these systems will mean, hopefully, that things that generally don't work well, like sending money to poor people, for example, may work better. It's funny, if the government needs to pay a contractor $1 billion for screws for the new F-150 jet, they can do that instantaneously. But when they got to give $200 to a poor family for food, that shit takes 6 weeks. So you can debate why that is. I can tell you, though, that it has really nothing to do with the systems we have in place now. But hopefully, when everything's on the same system, there won't be an excuse of why that works that way. So I'm in favor in some ways, but to be honest, it's not exciting to me. I don't really give a shit, to be honest, from a high level about CBDCs. I don't think they're necessarily going to change anything in terms of how our business operates, in terms of how crypto operates. I don't think it means higher adoption either, but it's an inevitable change. And I think that change, in many ways that don't necessarily affect me or my business, potentially could be good. Like I described with getting money to people who need it. Thanks for the response. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. You are very welcome. Have a good weekend as well. Jack, when will we be able to transfer XCM to other CoinMetro accounts? The pocket change I was handling for some family members is now life-changing money to them, and I don't like being responsible for it. Hey, Jack. Well, I'll put you at ease a little bit. You're not necessarily responsible for it unless you cash it out and spend it and, buy a Lambo. Then that's on you, buddy. But if you leave it in your CoinMetro account, remember when we did our token swap back in October of last year, we added in governance. If somebody were to hack into that account and we could prove that it was hacked, or CoinMetro got hacked, God forbid, then we would be able to just mint new tokens and give them back to you. So at least in that aspect, you're not responsible for it. But yeah, if you cash it out and buy a Lambo, then Uncle Jim is only going to be pissed at you, not us. Having said that, along with the digital fiat change, which is all this challenger bank aspect, this will be one of the things that you will be able to do, would be moving not only just crypto, but also fiat between CoinMetro accounts. So Q2 next year, I believe, is when you're going to be able to take advantage of that. Internal transfers for XCM might happen before that. We don't necessarily need digital fiat for that. It's kind of been on the back burner for a while. There was this compliance question in the air on whether we could do it or not. Let me put my compliance hat on. We can do it. So we just haven't pulled the trigger on that one. Again, we have been suffering in the past year with this kind of, we don't have enough human resource. We are now getting more human resources and more human resources. Obviously, those human resources come in without any idea what we're doing, which means we need to train them, which generally slows you down a bit before it speeds you up. But once we start speeding up, this is something I think we can do quite quickly. So it may happen before Q2, at least specifically for XCM. Kevin, great AMAs with Kadena and Vespa teams. Thank you. It would be nice, and helping users, to have new ones with other listed projects. I agree. For example, once a month, instead of just CoinMetro AMA, have CM plus other project AMA. I agree. I don't mind doing this more than once a month. In fact, I would be happy just to do this every day and just talk to people all day long, live on Zoom, and get asked questions and answer them. Fortunately, I can't do that every day. I just don't have time to do it. But I have no problem doing these AMAs. I actually like to do them. And I do think you're right. I do want to have more AMAs with more projects. I think Thought AI is definitely one that's going, probably one of the next, if not the next AMA that we pursue. Once a month, well, it depends on how many listings we're doing and how many companies actually want to do an AMA. But I would agree that we should do them more often. 100% on that with you. What would happen with a crypto if a direct solar flare hits Earth? Can all nodes worldwide be shut down and everything get wrecked? How can CM protect against a hypothetical case like this? Well, that's a fairly unique question. But so let me just go even beyond that. Let's say a massive solar hare. That's a rabbit that lives in space, in case you're wondering. A massive solar flare hit the Earth, and all electricity destroyed, done, gone. Well, there are offline versions of most blockchains that are held in disks of the equipment, the nodes that sit online. There also more than likely are in, like, let's say, external hard drives as well. So I don't think all information would be lost. However, without electricity, to be honest, whether the information is there or not, you're probably not going to be able to access it. And to be honest, if all electricity was gone across the entire planet, you probably have much more shit to worry about than your XCM and Cadena portfolio. I would say, doomsday hits the Earth. If you're the guy with the bullets, the canned tuna fish, and the guns, you're probably going to win, my man. If you're the dude with a bunch of Cadena on a node with no electricity, you're shit out of luck. If you're the guy with a bunch of gold bullion in his basement, you're also shit out of luck unless you can quickly melt that and make guns and bullets and canned tuna fish. Those would probably be the things that would get you to become king of your neighborhood. So in the event that electricity just went down, there are absolutely hard drives that contain data that you might lose some transactions, but the vast majority would still be intact. What can we do to protect against that? Well, we can have multiple redundant drives of all the information on CoinMetro, meaning our own internal ledger to know who owns what. But obviously, I don't know, we could put up like a big umbrella, a big like aluminum umbrella over the building here at CoinMetro, and hopefully that solar flare would ricochet and hit the newspaper next door and just fry their systems. I'm not sure that would actually work. I'm not a scientist, but if I was, I'd go with the tinfoil umbrella. I mean, those guys with tinfoil hats tend to believe the shit they start talking. So, I mean, imagine CoinMetro having a big foil umbrella. Imagine the photo op. So memeable, absolutely memeable. Would probably get us onto the front page of almost every front page. It's like I was almost going to say a newspaper right now. Who reads a newspaper anymore? Front page of all websites would be a much more non-boomer thing to say. Can you give us a rough outline of what you expect to achieve in 2022? Well, world domination. World domination. I don't know. That's pretty rough, I guess. Depending on how you go about dominating the world, maybe it's not so rough. So rough outline, what to expect. I think I did this already actually in a previous AMA, but I'll give you a quick outline. So automation is one major thing we want to do. That's automation in all aspects. That's from onboarding to transaction monitoring to, oh no, $1.83 of the 17 million I've transacted on CoinMetro happened to indirectly go through a website called iscamchildren.com that's based in, North Korea. And now my account's locked. Full automation on all these aspects that make the user experience for our clients better, and also eliminates the need for humans to have to subjectively go through and make decisions on limited data. We want to eliminate the need for humans to make subjective decisions without having all the data. So automation is a big thing in 2022. Launching of our Challenger Bank services is a big thing in 2022. Reaching profitability, sustainable profitability is a big thing in 2022. And much more focus on passive income is also a big focus in 2022. I think that was pretty rough. Any ETA and Vespa staking, and maybe info on minimum amount of Vespa to stake? Sorry. As the first time I spoke to anyone directly actually on the Vespa team was yesterday on that AMA, was Jordan. And based on the things she said and all the things I've already read up on Vespa before and after we listed it, and also all the information that our COO kept telling me about it when he urged us to list it for 6 months. I do believe that we are going to work together with them. I do believe there's many things we can help Vespa with that will help us as a company and help us help our clients. So I think there's a lot of commonality there, and there's definitely a lot of things to explore, but we haven't started exploring. So I don't know to what extent they have built their ecosystem to support us connecting quickly and being able to create pools. Or if it's something we're going to have to build together, or there's going to be substantial work on our side. So I can't really answer that question. Sorry about that. Minimum, we would put the smallest minimum we possibly could. So maybe somewhere around, I don't know what current minimums on staking definitely due to price increases are not the smallest amounts in euro anymore. our modus operandi, what we want to do is give people access. So if we can give more people access, that's our goal. That's what we want to do. So in my mind, I'd want to make that as low as possible. Would it be one Vesper token? Well, maybe not. But if we batch them correctly, maybe it even could be, but maybe 10, 20 euros, something like that. Now, not everybody in the world can afford 10 or 20 euros. And I know that, but most people that can't afford 10 or 20 euros also don't have a smartphone, internet access, or a laptop. Thus, we have to start somewhere. And we need to make sure that the burden on us to move those assets in and out of the pool, even if we batch them, doesn't cost us so much in gas that it kind of ruins the profitability for us as well as a business. So a little bit of insight, not really any direct answers, unfortunately, but we will have those direct answers at some point in the future. Hey, Kevin, could you tell a little on the idea for the app? Will there be a complete native version, or will development being put into the wrap version? Well, there will be native pieces of that app. Some will stay wrapped. Why? Well, we want a cohesive experience across the app. If we make native versions both on iOS and Android, that means that every time there's an update on the web app, we need to make similar updates across the board on those other apps. And that can take time. It can also break the app. There can also be things that simply don't work and thus get left out. What we want to have is when you talk about dashboard, when you talk about the exchange, when you talk about margin, the main components of the system to be that kind of wrapped version. So when we change something, it changes across the entire ecosystem in one go. And then adding native components, native KYC, for example, a native experience for deposit and withdrawal, et cetera. So add the things that cause the most issues with people not being native, make those native. And the things that we want to make sure when we update the main components, when we update that they update cohesively across the entire ecosystem, keeping those wrapped. How is hiring? Hiring is coming along quite nicely. Thanks for asking. We are hiring at quite a decent clip. I think last month, October, I think we hired 9 people or something like that. I think in November, we've already, maybe we're about halfway there, and we're about halfway through the month. So we're right on schedule. I think we will pick up with more hiring. We did hire as well. Last month, we hired 3 people to our HR team, and they need to get onboarded. They're now figuring out how to do things here at CoinMetro, and that means we're going to start at some point very soon, moving much quicker, I believe, down the path of finding great people to work at CoinMetro. About last AMA question for DNA, you're mistaken. DNA does not have native staking on Encryption platform. They are willing and able to offer it on CM. Also, just need CM approval. DNA does have native staking. Okay. They are willing and able to offer it on CM also. Yep, actually, David did reach out to me. Just haven't had time to have that conversation with him yet. So thank you for correcting that mistake. But I will have that conversation, and we'll see what we can do with DNA. What's your opinion on play to earn games and metaverses? Metaverse. I think it's funny that so much attention now is going into the quote unquote metaverse. By the way, guys, the metaverse, if all that is a virtual experience, has been around for a long fucking time. Nothing new. I think it's funny to me that this isn't new, but something new comes out that's nowhere near ready, really. Nowhere near ready, or nowhere near its potential. And everybody forgets all the issues that need to be solved in actually what's working today. And, they just flutter off into something new. I'm not a big fan, I'm not a big fan. This is just going to sound real boomerish, but I'm just going to throw it out at you guys because, whatever. We talk to each other every week. I think we know each other. You probably know me. So here we go. I hate social media from an individual perspective. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's one of the stupidest things in the face of the earth because it doesn't actually make you social. It makes you antisocial. So I don't understand why people spend hours and hours of their day tweeting, 4 words at other people. I just don't get it. I don't see how it's productive. I don't see how it's a better version of the world we had before. That might be because I'm just too old now to understand whatever cool vibes everybody else understands from these platforms. But I think the metaverse is a whole nother leap in the wrong direction. I think there are definite pros to being able to create virtualization of many things in life. Sure. I think there are even like medicinal applications. I mean, I think for mental health and other things like that, there may be great things they can do there. But Am I going to put on a virtual headset, sit on my couch, and talk to fake friends in a virtualized world? Absolutely not. No way. Never going to happen. Pay to earn games, so you're playing and you earn money. Well, I think that's been around for a long time. It's just before that money was nonsense money. And now perhaps you can actually earn something you can actually spend somewhere else. I think that's innovation. That's innovation. That makes a lot of people spend a lot of time playing video games. If they can actually be remunerated for it, well, it'll probably make them spend more time playing video games, which means they'll just spend less time doing real things, and the world may just end up falling over onto itself. I don't know. Maybe that's probably a doomsday scenario that's not going to happen. But I guess, the pay to earn, okay, I guess it's the next evolution. And, instead of getting some fake digital sword worth 1,000 whatever gems or whatever nonsense, you're going to get, something you can actually spend in the real world. Okay. Maybe then I won't have to give my 10-year-old daughter a bunch of money every month so she can buy random digital nonsense on games. Maybe she'll actually earn money and be able to do it herself. Amazing. But yeah, metaverse to me, not a fan. Don't really care. I don't care. I think the metaverse won't be what people think the metaverse should be or what can be for 10 years. And to be honest, by then I'm going to be in my mid 50s and I'm really not going to care. In fact, when somebody says metaverse, I'm just going to go, metaverse, and just like walk off into a corner and scream at the wall or something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but not a fan at all. Don't get it. From a business angle, I understand that a lot of people will probably use it. But still, clients from Mt. Gox will get about 140,000 Bitcoin back to their customers. You mean Mt. Gox will be sending about 140,000? Well, Liquidators Mt. Gox will send about 140,000 back to their customers. Okay, do you think it will directly influence the price since most of them will sell their share? Well, you're making a big assumption that most of them will sell their share. I don't know if that's true. In fact, I would say it might very well may not be true. Why? Well, imagine this. When you lost that Bitcoin, what was it worth? 1,000? A little under 1,000? I don't remember Mt. Gox. I don't remember the exact date. I think the high was around $1,000, $1,200. Now it's worth $60K. That's a massive increase in value. But you've seen that massive increase. All those Mt. Gox people, BitCox. That's a whole nother website, guys. Don't go to BitCox because I don't even know what's there. I'm definitely not promoting it. Nor do I own it, but I'm sure it exists. 140,000 Bitcoin. So Mt. Gox. So imagine you're one of those Mt. Gox customers. You're thinking you got ripped off at Bitcoin at 1,200. Then Bitcoin fell to like 300, and you're like, the loss isn't that bad anymore. And then it went to 20K, and you were just pissed. And now it's at 56K. You've seen though that whole progression of Bitcoin price. Do you honestly think that most of these people are going to say, well, it went from 1,000 to 60, but it's probably going to crash to $500 now, so I'm going to sell it all? I don't think so. I think a vast majority of that wealth is going to stay in Bitcoin. Some of it will be sold. The news, up to the news and minutes before that Bitcoin is released, 24 hours before even, we will probably see a sell-off. And that's because people are going to be basically selling the news. But I would almost venture a guess that 48 hours after that event, Bitcoin price actually starts to trend higher, 42 to 72 hours after. I don't honestly think most people will sell. If they do, they may sell to recoup their original investment. If they lost 50K, they may sell 100K. But if they lost 50K, I mean, they had 50 Bitcoins at 1,000 each, and now they're worth 60,000, close to 60,000 each. You can do the math there. That's 3 million. So if they sell off 100K, they still have 2.9 million in the market, and they're able to double their initial investment and hold. And I believe most will hold because they've seen, as they were pissed off the last X amount of years, that Bitcoin, continues to rise in price, period. Hi, Kevin. In a case of a 2 to 3 year bear market where current volumes on the exchange stay the same, are there enough investors to, in this case, not have to downscale? If volume stayed the same, look, profitability at an exchange during a bear market or a bull market doesn't necessarily need to be any different. In bear markets, people buy and people sell. The price is just lower. That doesn't mean that the same amount of money isn't being made by the underlying exchange. It doesn't mean that people still don't want passive income. It doesn't mean that people still don't. So I think that question doesn't make a lot of sense. Bear market does not mean less income to an exchange. In fact, in many ways, it could mean more, because the more consolidation at a price, the more actual volumes you may see versus when everybody's just buying. Because if you're just buying, you come in once a month and you buy and you're done. If price is low, you may be accumulating and you may have a plan. You may be buying on a daily, you may have an order that's buying on a daily basis, that's buying on a weekly basis, and you're just trying to pick up as much as you can on those lower values. Plus, as values go lower, a lot of people that had may sell, but those that hear that prices are going lower and believe they may go higher become new clients, and they're buying on those dips. So we have some loyal investors, that's for sure, but there's also a big world out there with lots of investors. We've never had an issue staying afloat before, even when times were much darker than they are now. We are a completely different business than we were when we did our initial fundraising or our two kind of public and then private rounds. Going into the Series A, we are going to be an extremely different business, bear market or bull market. I don't care what the market looks like. I am very bullish on CoinMetro and our ability to raise money next year at a significantly higher valuation, regardless of what the underlying market looks like. Any plans on ALBT staking? Hasn't been something that we talked about internally. Potentially something like Vesper could make any token on CoinMetro stakeable. Hey, Kevin, do you offer a share company ownership or XCM bonus scheme for your staff? Both, actually. So XCM bonus we've done multiple times in the past. And we probably will continue to do in the future as well. And share and company ownership options program has been in the works and will officially go live early next year. So yes, both. Want to become famous? Buy followers and oh Jesus, this guy. Okay, don't do that. Don't go to big followers. No, you don't want to be famous. Trust me. Not that I'm famous, but I mean, being famous is just nonsense. Have you heard of Taraxa? Looks like it could be CoinMetro's next gem. Haven't heard of it. Tag me on Telegram. I'll take a look. Oh, Rust. Barring meme coins like Dodge and SHIB, are there projects in the top 100 that, in your opinion, have no business being there? If so, could you give examples of coins that won't exist by next bear market or bull market? I don't know what that animal is. It's an albino. It's an albino mini sheepdog. I don't know. I can't off the top of my head, to be honest. You can definitely ask me about specific coins and I'll give you my opinion, or tokens. There are definitely many in the top 100 that shouldn't be there. Well, let me rephrase that. It depends on what you think the top 100 is or should be. If the top 100 is just based on market cap, well, then they all should be there. Simple as that. If you think it should be based on the potential longevity of that asset, the potential profitability that one would have getting into that asset, the stability of that asset, the utility of that asset, blah, 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 then yes, 30% of them probably shouldn't be there, maybe even more. So yeah, I can't really give you one off the top of my head, but if you do ask me about individual assets, I can give you my opinion. Could CoinMetro stake my Credo on my behalf for a small fee? Could we? I don't know. I don't know if there is any Credo staking available anywhere online. Like I said, our goal, like I have said, I should say, our goal is to provide passive income on every asset that we service, and that includes Credo. So, and partners like Vesper might be one of the ways that we offer some form of passive income on all the assets we list. So today, the answer to this question would be no. Tomorrow, when I say tomorrow, I don't literally mean tomorrow, but figuratively speaking, tomorrow in the future, the answer is our goal is that the answer will be yes. Are you billionaire already? I believe you mean to say billionaire. No, I'm not a billionaire. Don't have any. I could care less if I ever made it to billionaire, to be honest. If I did, I'd probably give most of it away anyway. But no, I'm not a billionaire, and I don't really care if I ever am, to be honest. Have you purchased your Credo yet? No, I haven't. Price, when I believe something is a good buy, I don't really care about 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, even 100% difference in price in crypto. In traditional markets, if I thought a stock was a good buy and it went up 30%, I would probably wait or just knock it off my list and move on to the next one, unless I was looking for dividends in the future, et cetera. When you talk about crypto, not only are there passive income opportunities like dividends in traditional markets, but you also have the potential to see, 1,000Xs. And thus, I don't FOMO into anything. I buy into something because I think it's a good buy. If the price goes up 20% one day, I don't go, oh my God, and then place a limit order 30% down and never get filled. I don't do that. I used to do that. That was not in crypto, but the Kevin of old in FX markets and stuff like that. I used to do that. Those are major mistakes done by almost every single trader. If you think something's a good buy now, then you just buy it now. You can scale in your buys if you like. You can look to try and buy some additional. You can put half of what you were going to put in now and try to buy some when it scales back, if it scales back. But sitting on your hands all the time is not a way to make money in a market. What are you doing on the back end for clients using MetroCoin platform? That's CoinMetro, by the way, Dylan, to protect their information and make sure no hacks occur. Hey, Dylan, that's a good question. And fully transparent, we have had data leaks in the past. I should say one data leak in the past. That was back in 2017 or 2018, I believe. But we actually didn't know of it until 2021. It was earlier this year, I believe, when the guy who actually had access to the information threatened us that he had the information. Anyway, point is that when that happened in 2018, we made a lot of different changes to how we hold and where we hold and who has access to information that we hold on clients. So we do your, stereotypical technical stuff and security related stuff. By putting, by transmitting assets, obviously over HTTPS and other secure protocols, by storing them in segregated containers that there is no access to anyone on our staff, and access to those containers is only done through our system, which requires almost 4 and 5 FA, depending on what you're trying to access, meaning you need to access through a VPN. That VPN is whitelisted. That VPN requires not only a PIN, but also 2FA. Once you're in the VPN, you need to log in with an additional 2FA into our systems. And once you're in there to access any information, you also need to go through another verification process. We are constantly looking at ways to also improve our infrastructure. Infrastructure is never perfect. Those are just a few of the things. You can definitely ask more specific question if you want, ask about specific technologies. I might not be the best person to answer about specific technologies, but I can definitely get you the information. But having had a leak, which was caused actually by what we believe to be someone that worked for us, a remote worker that worked for us in 2018, that stole someone's identity actually to work for us, that gained access to a file that wasn't correctly segregated. That's why the segregation happened. We also, even when we hire employees now, remote or otherwise, we have a much more strict onboarding policy, much stricter than it is for clients, to make sure that when we're hiring somebody, they are a legitimate person. I would trust CBDC more than stablecoins. Well, trust is one thing, sure. Many people, I would say that in many reasons, you'd be right. Many people will have that same idea, Bill. Though cryptophiles who came into crypto because they don't trust governments will not necessarily trust CBDCs either, because they're issued by governments. I think it's important and it's imperative that in the future people have a choice between a private currency and a public one. I think it makes perfect sense. Why? Because in everything else in life, usually you have some type of choice. Schools, you can go to a public school, you can go to a private school. Obviously, private schools cost money, but let's just assume they didn't. You do have a choice. You have a choice between taking what the government wants to give you or finding your own way and taking something that's put together by a private institution. And yes, some private institutions shouldn't be trusted, though I would say there are definitely stable coins out there. Paxos is one that sits in my mind. That's one of the most regulated and probably stable coins in terms of security and I think trust issues out there. There are others, obviously, on the other side of the spectrum that I don't trust either. But I still think it's, again, imperative that the choice is there. A choice to have money issued by the government or money issued or assets issued by the private sector. Keep in mind, however, with the case of stablecoins, if it's a US dollar-backed stablecoin, for example, you're still trusting the government in one way, shape, or form, because those dollars that back that stablecoin are probably going to be in a bank that's licensed by the government, which is insured by the FDC in the US, et cetera. So can't really get away from it. I would say, though, usually the private sector does better than the public sector when it comes to tech and when it comes to security. So, I think everybody's going to pick their own side, but I think it's important that you have a choice. I say iBunny. iBunny definitely is on the other side of that equation. Any thoughts on Kadena staking or Kadena liquidity pools? Well, Kadena staking, Kadena bonding should reopen hopefully at the beginning of the year. As per Kadena, when that happens, we'll be able to reopen our own staking program. Liquidity pools, we have been debating internally about having our own liquidity pool infrastructure. Vesper, again, potentially might be the way that we get that off the ground faster, and then eventually expand to have a combination of Vesper plus our own liquidity pools. So not just for Kadena, but for lots of other assets as well. When will you add the much needed Euro USD pair? Well, Euro USD cannot be added under our current crypto licensing because that's a fiat to fiat pair. It doesn't fall under the licensing we currently have here in Estonia for the crypto side of the business. However, I do believe that our EMI can provide that service. And thus, once we get the electronic money issuance, we have the license already. Once we get those products live Q2 next year, that would be something that we would be hopefully allowed to do. I do believe it would fall within the purview. Hey, Kevin, in your opinion, what is CoinMetro's weakest point right now? How do you plan to fix it? Weakest point right now is probably related broadly to people, the lack of people, and kind of the fact that we went from kind of 0 to 60 and then had some lulls and then started to hire again. And when, while we really haven't been able to cement kind of company culture inside the company, and that's caused some rifts and some communication issues and some other things around the company. And I think we are definitely now getting towards the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of that issue. But I think people, I don't want people to take it the wrong way. It's not the weakest point as in we have weak people. We don't. But it's our weakest point from a broad perspective because lots of issues tied to people tend to slow things down. And that can be processes, and that can be the lack of human resources, and that can be the lack of, maybe communication internally, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we are getting, again, towards the light at the end of the tunnel on that one. I would say that that's probably what's holding us back. Weakest point, really the weakest link in the chain might simply be the fact that we haven't, we've been stuck in between this area of we're seeing growth and tremendous growth, but we're also having to quickly retool things and automate things so we make sure that the next level of growth is much more sustainable. Not sustainable, but we can actually breeze right through it. We get 10,000 applications a day, no problem. We're not going to have backups. People aren't going to have to wait 72 hours and 96 hours, et cetera, to get approved. And again, that's not a weakest point, but it is a point of contention in where we want to start doing lots more advertising. At the same time, we don't want to cause bottlenecks. So maybe it's, again, organizational and people related for the most part, because we need more resources to expand. Hopefully that answers the question. When do you foresee the KYC backlog being resolved? It is in process of being resolved and has been. We now have automation. The automation that we kicked off has now processed about 2,000 pending KYCs. It's going to be picking up steam. We are going to be revising the rules and making sure that it can have more and more throughput, but remain accurate. That is not the easiest thing to do. It will take some time to do that. It's going to be an ongoing project for a year or more, but we have already seen fruit from that labor, and we're going to see more fruit. So there is going to be a backlog for some time. That means that we will start to speed up the process, but the backlog gets bigger as the process is slower. As the process speeds up, we eat into that backlog, but we're also going to be doing marketing, et cetera, which will expand the backlog. So what I want to do is be able to, in the next 60 days, to establish an SLA, meaning we need to be processing applications within this time period, and we have to figure out how we make sure that happens, whether that SLA is 72 hours, 96 hours, just something so we know and we can communicate outwardly exactly what that's going to be. So I wouldn't expect the backlog to go to zero anytime in the very near future. What I would expect, however, is that we're getting better at processing applications, and thus we can process more and eventually get to the point where we're not working with backlogs. Hey, Kevin, can you share some user sign-up figures for the last month or so? What I can say is last month was our highest revenue month ever. We're on track to beat that this month. In terms of signups, I've definitely seen an increase in average daily signups. I think we're somewhere around 1,000 right now in average daily signups in the past 20 days, 15, 20 days. Will you add more stablecoin pairings in the future? Yes. Oh, I thought there was another question, but it's just an explanation. Yes, tax reasons is one reason. The other reason is just because from a pricing standpoint, and the fact that our liquidity providers, or one of our liquidity providers, basically gives us a one-to-one exchange rate for any stablecoin into USD. We don't have an FX issue, and we don't have to create additional. Well, we have to create additional pairings, but in reality, it's the same pair. And so it's easier for us on the tech side. And yes, there's tax implications for our users. And also it brings us that ability to market ourselves to more crypto only folks who don't necessarily see fiat on and off ramps or fiat on ramps or fiat off ramps as such a major plus, because they generally deal in crypto only. So absolutely. It was actually just discussed, or has been discussed for a while, but we again rekindled just the last 48 hours. Any news on increasing leverage? That's one that hasn't been rekindled in the last 48 hours. I think we would probably like to see a few changes. We've seen some liquidity issues on that margin platform. We've seen individuals lose money simply because the books go thin, because either liquidity leaves the book for whatever reason, or actually, I'm gonna throw this out there just so I want to give a little master class on margin, guys. A little master class on what liquidity is and how books function. Okay. Keep in mind that every asset, Bitcoin included, would be considered a low liquidity asset, comparatively speaking, to other large markets around the world. Now, Bitcoin is growing and growing and growing, and there's lots of liquidity coming in from synthetics, meaning non-deliverable Bitcoin like options and futures. Still liquid. Now, Bitcoin is a liquid. Everything else, aside from maybe Ether, which is still less liquid than Bitcoin, is immensely illiquid. You combine that with leverage, combine that with the fact we all know CoinMetro is the best exchange, but we're not the biggest, which means we don't have the same amount of incoming orders that, let's say, your other exchanges do. I don't even want to mention the name anymore because it makes me nauseous a little bit. Okay, so I don't want to mention the name, but point is that they are bigger than we are, and they do more volume. That means that there's more orders in their books. We do have liquidity providers, but what do liquidity providers do? They place, just like you do, limit orders inside the book. Now, can they remove those limit orders? Of course they can. Any trader can add an order or remove it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not called manipulation. That's not called nefarious tactics. That's simply called, I don't want to take any more risk in this pair. I'm going to go ahead and remove that order. What happens is when you're trading on illiquid pairs on credit, and let's say one guy, let's say you have a long on Quant, for example. You had a long on Quant at 320, all right? And you have enough collateral to hold that long. You're doing all right. Then the price starts to drop a bit. Now you don't, and you have to liquidate. At that same time, however, roughly around that same time, or let's say before you even get to that point, you still have a little bit of collateral left. You're good. The price hasn't fallen large enough. But some guy who owns 10,000 quants runs out of liquidity. Those are market orders that have to close his positions. Now, let's assume there's about 8,000 quant, which is a lot, in the book, between maybe 5-10% difference. All right, he's going to clear right through all of that. He's going to go to the next available price. Let's say that's 100. And he gets cleaned out at 100. Now you, unfortunately, with your long, also get liquidated. Why? Well, because the price went to 100. So you get liquidated, and that causes you to lose money and go into a negative balance. Now, increasing leverage, to me, in many ways, is a tool that can actually help reduce the risk. But in circumstances like this, until the book has more liquidity in it, actually increase individuals' risks, especially those that don't understand how order books work, or like to just assume that people are trading against them or something's malicious in nature. A liquidation due to a spike down in price is not malicious unless someone is directly trading against you. CoinMetro does not trade against its clients. CoinMetro does not play counterparty to any trade ever inside its books. And just like individuals can add liquidity to a book and remove it, so can liquidity providers. Make sure you understand that when you open longs on margin. Make sure you understand that liquidity can go to shit in an instant. That can happen, and it has happened on some assets. Just keep that in mind. So I do want to raise leverage. I think before we do that, we need to amend the pairings we offer. I would love to be able to offer everything on margin if I was sure that people would understand how margin works, but I'm absolutely positive they don't for the most part, and that limits our ability to be able to offer higher leverage. However, if we remove some of the most illiquid pairs and only focus on some of the more liquid pairs, gives us a better chance to be able to do that. Raising leverage potentially could bring in more volumes, more orders, thus increasing liquidity. CBDCs would be awful, pretty much gives central banks the ability to circumvent governments in implementing monetary policy and fiscal policy on top of completely eroding our privacy. Definitely the erosion of privacy, shattered. To be honest, you don't have any privacy now anyway, so, I mean, you might as well give up that last shred. Cash is not that private, considering that everywhere you go to spend it, there's a camera. Considering everywhere you go to withdraw it, they have your name on record. Considering considering when you spend too much of it, they even want you to fill out a form. So cash isn't really all that private either, but I agree with you. It is a major erosion of privacy. It's inevitable, though. There are some benefits. I don't think it's not going to change the law, so it's not going to give central banks the ability to circumvent governments in implementing monetary and fiscal policy. Now, if the creation of the system by which the coins, the CBDCs are minted and distributed, somehow gets created by the central bank, which I doubt, and the legislators that provide the laws don't understand how it works, I guess there's a potential that that's possible. But to be honest, I wouldn't agree with that statement at all. Crypto doesn't change regulation. Blockchain doesn't change regulation. Crypto and blockchain don't change the legislation already on the books. It's simply another tool and another way to distribute and settle assets. And thus, I don't think any of that changes, but you're absolutely right on the eroding of privacy, 100%. What's going on with Ignium? Ignium's doing well. I mean, I'm not active there on a daily basis, so I'm not in every stand-up. That's Raimo's job as CEO. But I do get frequent updates, and I am in some meetings here and there, and do provide some support when I can and when asked. They're moving forward with a few new experiments to show how this Investomer hypothesis, which is now partially proven, so I guess it's not a full hypothesis, but to show that it actually works. We're going to be helping them in some of those experiments. So things are going well. They did their first own direct fundraising for a client, raised about €250,000. So just showing that companies can, in fact, raise money from their client base and turn their clients into investors, not just customers. And I think that's amazing. And that's the first step on a long journey, I think. And I believe Ignium's going to do quite well. In the United States, Florida is becoming the go-to conference area for Bitcoin and other cryptos. Not sure that's the case. Recently, Cathie Woods moved their headquarters to St. Petersburg. Do you see CM opening? No, I do not. Look, I know Miami is trying to become whatever Bitcoin central. Yeah. Let me just put it to you this way. Florida's had the same tax laws and the same general financial laws for a long time. But all major finance in the U.S. sits where? New York State. Who has the most thorough and probably one of the best licensing structures in the world? New York State. Where does most capital flow in and out of the United States? New York State. The reason why Florida is getting a bit of, think of Florida to me right now is kind of like Malta 2 years ago. Blockchain Island. Everybody remember the Blockchain Island nonsense? I think I was the only guy standing up and going, this isn't gonna last. This isn't gonna work. Blockchain Island. What are you kidding me? No one even ever got the licenses. They were literally promoting companies that were unlicensed to do business in their country and then got slapped by FATF and wondered why. I think Florida's kind of in the same boat. Wyoming's doing way more than Florida is, but Wyoming's Wyoming. Who wants to go? You can't bring your bikini. You can't bring your 22-year-old wife with your Bitcoin when you're a Bitcoin billionaire to Wyoming. She's not going to go there, but she'll go to Miami. There's lots of conferences all over. I would say New York is still probably, again, number one for conferences. Jacob Javits Center, whether it's Consensus, whether it's any of the other large-scale events, it's still New York, and it probably will remain New York. Miami, though, is nicer to visit. Florida has better weather. So, that's why I think there's some movement to Florida. But I don't expect CoinMetro to have an office in Florida. No, definitely not in the short to medium term. Solar flare. If you die tomorrow from cancer, what will happen with CoinMetro? If I die from cancer, not much. Access can already be distributed to other people. Accesses that I have that others potentially don't. You wouldn't have these AMAs every week. You'd have another spokesman who might even have more hair and be slightly more fit and a better nice tan or something. It might actually help. I don't know. But the business wouldn't die. The business would continue on, and maybe even be better. Who knows? I remember me and Harold had that tiff a while back that he said I should walk away. Maybe if I wasn't CEO anymore, CoinMetro would be number one in 2 weeks. I don't know. So it could carry on. That's the point. One more XCM utility as we launch more products. So it's coming. How do I get myself that sweet shirt? Well, this specific shirt I don't think is in the store yet, but you can head over to coinmetro.store and browse. If this one isn't there and this is the one you want, let me know and I'll try to get it into the store ASAP. Do you know about Corretto? I do not, Osvaldo149. Please fill me in. Can you tell us more about the DCA bot? Will it come with Tram 2.0? So dollar cost averaging is going to be somewhat of a feature for us, and we plan to add that feature to multiple pieces of the ecosystem, potentially including Tram. The initial launch of Tram really depends. It might not be. It really depends on how deep we're already into Tram 2.0, but it very well could be. But we have talked about that feature, DCA, having the ability to connect to Tram. Absolutely. Are those physical NFTs on the wall behind him? Nope. These are original memes. I guess anything you could, I'm a physical NFT, I guess. There's been an NFT of me out there somewhere. So I am the physical version of an NFT. That kind of makes me feel like I should jump out of a window. But all right. So yeah, no, they're not. Those are way before NFTs, man. Those things are original gangster memes. That's what those are. I would zoom in on them, but I have no idea how to zoom in with this camera. So sorry. Hey, Kev, I've noticed a lot more crypto dust appearing. When will the crypto fairy be employed to help out? Crypto fairy. I don't know if we want to call it that. I think I might lose my job if we call it the crypto fairy. I don't know. Call it the crypto gender neutral fairy or something. Maybe that'd be better. I'm going down a path I shouldn't go down. Okay. Point is the dust buster or the crypto dust thing. We've discussed that a million times, but I haven't really heard about it lately. It's definitely something we're going to do. I don't know where it sits in the current roadmap. That's a question, actually, you can tag Oliver with, our man in product, and see if he's got something for you. Is Parsec working on bringing staking to CoinMetro? We would love to get IQ Protocol on CoinMetro. Right now, IQ Protocol, I think, is only on the Binance chain, so 10-foot pole. As they move on to other chains, I'm trying to get them to do Kadena. If they did Kadena, man, that would be amazing. But as long as they do a chain we can actually support, then we will start talking about incorporating IQ Protocol into CoinMetro. Absolutely. Could you tell us if you're looking into hiring anyone on the board or executive team? Are you planning to go public? Yes, we are looking to hire both on our supervisory board as well as our board, not just here at CoinMetro, but also in other companies that we will be launching for other licensing endeavors. No, I think going public on NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, or any global market goes completely against the reason we're here. So no, that doesn't provide access. I would rather go public on my own ecosystem where I knew I could reach as many people as I possibly could with this great and fantastic opportunity than only the people who can reach NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, which is a limited amount around the world. Do you enjoy more running a business or sitting in a room trading? Running a business for sure. I don't know if I ever enjoyed trading. It was just a challenge, and I like challenges. But I might have long hair right now if it wasn't for trading. So We just hit the hour, guys. I'll take this last one. Cadena's biggest mining pool now controls 60% of the hash rate and keeps increasing. Do you think this will be a problem in the future? No, I don't. I don't. And there's a long technical explanation for why I don't. But I believe when you talk about any type of like 51% attack, having the infrastructure that Kadena has, I believe mitigates that risk. Maybe not to zero, but definitely mitigates it. All right, we got one from Harold, so I'll come in. Play to earn is nothing new. It did not work out for Amazon, so I would not count it as an income source. Yeah, none of the things we do, Harold, in crypto or fintech are new. In fact, most of the things we do in life are never new. They're just nuanced versions of whatever we were doing before. So yeah, I'm not a big gamer. So the last time I think I played a video game was like 2001 or something. I don't know. But yeah, absolutely. That just shows how old I am. So great. I'm going to have to leave it there. There are still some more questions, and they're probably great ones. If you guys have a question I didn't answer it, you can tag me on Telegram at Kevin Merkel, or you can tweet me on Twitter at Kevin Merkel. Let me know your questions. I will try to answer them. Have a great weekend, everybody. Spend time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. And remember, whether you're on Zoom or you're sitting at that aunt's house that you hate, eating those cupcakes that taste like shit, make sure you let her know as you're trying to scarf down that really dry cupcake and you're almost choking. Say, hey, by the way, buy Exium. And you know, just make sure she does. It'll change your life for the better. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for all the support. Really do appreciate it. See you guys here next week. Cheers.